Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I hope you are fine here. Hello, thank you for being here. It is a pleasure to have you here as usually. Okay, so today we have a special guest. Is my friend Perfecto, okay, who is from the Philippines. He's now here with us. He's going to share with us a very important topic. Thank you so much, my dear friend, for for accept my invitation. And thank you so much for being here. I know that we have the difference between the time zone, right? Because here is 8 p.m. at night, but there I think that is 8 a.m. or 9, my dear friend. What time is there?
It's 9 in the morning.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry, my dear friend. I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for being here with us. As you notice here, we have teachers from Peru, from Ecuador, okay? Thank you so much. Yes, Johnny, okay, for accepting the invitation. Yes, of course, that's correct. Okay, so thank you so much. We are going to start in this case with a webinar, okay? Please, let's start, my dear friend. Could you share your screen? Yes, do you have the option, my dear friend? Hello, Lourdes. Thank you so much.
I cannot share my screen.
Okay, give me just 1 minute. I will give it to you, I think. Okay. Good evening, Stephanie. Thank you so much, Karen. You are always really nice, okay? You are always really nice for being here. Thank you so much, Perfecto, again. You are going to share a wonderful topic with us as usual, so thank you.
Can I request also my another account because I'm using two devices.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so let you give it to me the option. Okay, here you have. I think, yes.
Okay, so it says here that the host disabled participants screen sharing. I cannot share my screen.
No, you can. Oh my God. Let's see. Okay, just 1 minute, please. I'm gonna check that. Okay, don't worry, don't worry. I will help you with that. I think now is ready. I think, yes.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, Perfecto. We have some technical problems, but I think that everything now is correct. Thank you so much as usual. I'm really glad to have you here. Thank you so
Okay,
much
can
for
you see now my
accepting.
screen?
Yes. So,
Okay, so is my audio is loud and clear?
yes, everything
Okay,
is.
good morning here in the Philippines and good evening in Peru. Okay, so mabuhay, and I am presenting my topic. It's all about the effective ways in communicating using the English language. So by the way, I am Perfecto from the Philippines, and I am teaching English, a literature, linguistic, and grammar lesson. Okay, so when we talk about communication, the importance and the process and the elements, this is communication is one of the most basic functions of management. Okay, did you agree with that? That the manager can make a good decisions or think out well conceived by the plans and also establish a sound organization structure. And even we will be linked by the associates. Okay, communication is also the essential for achieving the managerial and the organizational effectiveness. And good communications help the employees become more involved in their work and help them develop a better understanding of their jobs. Okay, so that is clear, precise, and timely communications of informations also prevents the occurrence of the organizational problems. Okay, so if we have this what we call communication, we avoid what we call the occurrences in the organization. So without communications, employees will not be aware of what their co-workers are doing, will not have any idea about what their jobs or goals are, and will not be able to assess their performance. So the managers will not be able to give the instruction to their subordinates, and the management will not receive the informations it inquires to develop the plans and take decisions. Hence, the communications act as the nervous system of any organization. So as we can see here, communication is the most important tools in terms of one organization. Okay, so what are the concept of communication? Okay, so the word communications had been derived from the Latin word communis, which means common. Okay, communications therefore refers to the sharing of ideas. It is a facts, it's either an opinions or informations and understanding. Okay, it is the transfer of transmissions of some informations and understanding from one person to another. So although the word communication is used often, there is no consensus amongst communication experts regarding its definition. So when we talk about communication, we can say a lot of definitions like sharing of an ideas, it's either sharing our opinions, it's either facts, or it's either some other basis or some other sources, okay? So in the general, it is defined as the process which the information is exchanged between individuals. So when we talk about communication, you are changing your ideas with one another to another person, okay? So the process uses, also we can use written, spoken words, and gestures. And also we can use messages, okay? So we have also used our facts, our ideas, or our emotions in terms of what we call communications. Oh, and understanding from one person, okay, so when we talk about communication, that is, you understand the emotion, okay, the message coming from the one person to another person, okay, that is either a person, a place, or a things to another, okay. So we'll talk about the functions of communications. What is this all about? Okay, so number one is what we call the information functions. Okay, so when we talk about information functions, it serves to provide knowledge to the individual's need for the guidance in their actions, and it also fulfills workers' desire for the awareness of things that affect them. Okay, so when we talk about informations, you are going to serve and to provide knowledge, not for yourself as well, but for the individuals, for the guidance, okay, for their actions, what are the actions that they are taking for, and you can have to fulfill the workers' desire and awareness of the things that can affect them, okay? Next one is we have the command and the instructive functions, okay? So in these cases, it served to make the employee aware of his obligations to the formal organizations and to provide him with the additional guidance on how to perform his duties adequately. Okay, so when we talk about command, you are giving a command to the for them to become aware, okay, for what they are doing in one organization. Okay, you are going to provide additional guidance how they are going to perform their duties adequately. Okay. Next one is we have the influence of and persuasion. Okay, so this one you are going to encourage, okay, the appropriate individuals to perform or to exhibit a certain behavior. Okay, so the messages communicated are used to convince individuals that their actions can be personally or what we call organizationally beneficial. Okay, so when we talk about persuasion, you are going to perceive or to convince individuals how they are going to do their actions. Okay, they can perform that action that is coming from their personal opinion or coming from the organization itself. Okay, next one is we have the interactive functions. Okay, so what is this all about? So when we talk about interactive functions, this is the fact that the communications to the messages or the ideas is properly handled, okay? It should help to relate the activities to the workers to their efforts complement. Okay? You are going to integrate what they are doing and you are going to complement rather than detract from each other, okay? So the work efforts are unified rather than fragmented as a result of properly interactive communication. So the employees now can perform what we call this one only when understand their job and duties and responsibilities. You are going to instruct them what they are doing. For us, we are an educator, so our task is to teach our learners. Okay, for example, okay. And another one is when you talk about interactive functions, you are assigning them what are their job duties and responsibilities. Unless the organization goals, values, and strategies are communicated to the employees, they will not work in that direction. Okay, so you have to instruct them what they are doing. So what are their job description and what are the qualities of why they are doing their job effectively. Okay. Next, another one is move on to the communication process transmission. Okay. So we have the two-way communication process that involve the transmission of the messages from a sender to a receiver and back. Okay. So communication also may take place through, we are going to speech, hand signals, and other form. Okay. So we have another way of how to become an effective communicators using this platform. Okay, so we have developing an idea. Okay, so one of the functions or the communications process transmission is what we call the developing an idea. Okay, so in these cases, the sender should perceive that he has some important message to convey the receiver. Okay, so the sender should have a clear idea about what he wants to communicate to the receiver. Okay, you are going to develop an idea and how are you going to transmit this one coming from the sender going down to the receiver. Okay, so that is you have the sender should have a clear idea about what he wants to communicate to the receiver. Okay, moving on. Next one is what we call the encoding of the message. Okay, this one is the sender codifies the message. Okay, he select the appropriate words. It's either a chart, a symbols in the step, okay? You are going to convey his idea as clearly as possible, okay? That is clear as possible. He also decides on the medium of transmission so that the words and the symbols constituting the message can be arranged in a suitable manner, okay? So how you are going to do this one, okay? You are going to select appropriate words. It's either a chart or a symbols, okay? Next, moving on. We have now that another one is with the transmitting the message, okay? So this one, you are going to involve the transmission of the message using an appropriate medium of communication, such as you're going to have a call using our phone. And then we have this, what we call the personal interactions. In these cases, you are transmitting the message to the sender, tries to ensure that the timing of the message is right, okay? The sender also take care of that transmission of the message and doesn't encounter any barriers or what we call the flow of the barriers or interference which may impede the flow of communication. Okay, so we are going to ensure that the communication channel is free from the barriers or distractions. Another one is you are going to, or the inferences increases the changes of the message reaching the target audience and holding its attention. Okay, you are going to transmit the message, but make sure that there is no barriers or what we call inferences. Another one is we have the reception of the message. Okay, so when we talk about the reception of the message, you are the receiver of or the persons for whom the message was intended or received the message. Okay. If the message was communicated orally, the receiver has to be good listeners to avoid loss of information during what we call the transmission or the message. Okay, so that is how are you going to receive the message? Are you going to receive that one orally or in some other platforms? Okay, so if this message is transmit orally, the receiver has to have a good listener because sometimes there is a words that we have to pronounce similarly, but they have the different spelling, okay? Another one is we have the decoding the message, okay? So the message is decoded and understood by the receiver, okay? So the receiver has to understand the message exactly as intended by the sender, okay? So the communicator of the message can make the receiver listen to him, or bad understanding has to be achieved by the receivers alone, okay? This aspect of understanding is referred to getting through to a person, okay? Decoding means you are going to understood by the receiver. That is what we call the message is clear or exactly as intended by the sender, okay? Next one is we have the acceptance or the rejection of the message, okay? So in these cases, the receiver is free to accept or to reject the decoded message. Okay, rejection is how we are going to accept this one, the acceptance or the rejection of the message. Okay, so in these cases, he can also choose whether to accept the message in a part. Okay, so that the message or the receiver is influenced by the factors such as his perception regarding the accuracy of the message, okay? So the authority of the sender and then the implications of accepting the information. Okay, so how we are going to accept a message or how we are going to reject those messages. Okay, you have to, what we call this one, that is, the perception is regarding to the accuracy of the message. And depending on the accuracy of the message that we are going to receive, okay? So we have the authority of the sender is one factor, and then the implications or what we call the accepting of the information. Okay, so another one is using the information. One transmission is you are going to use information. Okay, so this one is involved the use of information by the receiver, and the receiver may use the information to discard it or to store in the future. Okay. For example, you are going to have these cases, for example, a webinar, okay? So this is what we call using the information. We share information and then we can use it one, or the receiver may use the information, discard it, or you have to store it in the future. Okay, next one is giving feedback. Okay, so this is one of the most important tools in terms of what we call transmission. Okay, so feedback occurs when the receiver sends back the response to the sender and acknowledges the receipt or the message. Okay, so the communications loop is complete only after the feedback has been provided. Okay, so the feedback is essential for the finding out whether the message has been properly received, decoded, accepted, and used by the receiver. Okay, giving feedback, it's also used as what we call the communications loop. Okay, so in these cases, we are going to find out the message has been properly received. Is that message properly received, decoded, accepted, and used by the receiver? So these are now the organizational communications that we have. Okay, so number one is when we talk about organizational communications, can be broadly classified into formal and informal communication. Okay, so we have this one. When we talk about formal communications, are those that are official, that are part of the recognized communication system that we have, which is involved in the operations of the organization. And these communications may be oral or written. Okay, we can see that one orally, or we can have this formal communication written. Okay, so another one is while in the informal communications, that is, it grow out of the social interactions among people, okay, who work together. These are not bound by any chart on the wall, but are bound by conventions, or what we call the customs and the culture. Okay, so that is what we call the informal communication. That is all about the grow out in the social interaction among people who work together. And it also bounds by conventions, by the customs and what we call the culture. Okay, so we have the organizational communications can also classified as, number one is we have the downward communication. Number two is we have the upward communication. Number three is we have the lateral communication. And fourth is we have the interactive communication. Okay, the organizational communication can be classified into four. Okay, so number one is we have the downward communication. So in the downward communication is one of the most important processes of the organizational communication. Why? It is because it establishes the linkages between people by facilitating the flow of information between them. Okay, so downward, that is what we call, you are going to establish the linkages between people by the facilitating the flow of information between them. Okay. Next one is what we call the upward communication. So in the upward communications, that is the process of non-directive in nature. Unlike in the downward process, which is directive, effective upward communication is possible only when the organizations empower their employees and allow them to participate freely in the decision making. Okay, so that is what we call the upward communication. That is, you are going to have this in the organization, you are going to empower the employees and you are going to allow them in participating in the decision making. Number three is we have the lateral communication. Okay, so in the lateral communication, you are going to involve communication across the chains of a command. It facilitates coordinations among the departments, and it probably take place before, or the people preferred in informality of lateral communication. So the formal, downward, and upward communication. So this actively involved in the lateral communications are called what we call the boundary spanners. Okay, so the boundary spanners, it allows for accumulation of vast amounts of information, such as the person wield tremendous power and enjoy the greater status by filtering and communicating with others. Okay, that is what we call lateral communication, also known as what we call the boundary spanners. Okay. Number 4, the last one is we have the interactive communication. So this is very beneficial because when communication is necessary between the peers involved in a task that require coordinated effort. However, they are not involved in the tasks that require coordinated effort, or what we call the interactive communications would result in the reduced productivity. Okay, so interactive communications among the peers may also affect what we call the vertical communications in a negative way. Okay, so the employees now at each levels may communicate freely among themselves but fail to communicate the upward and the downward communication. Okay, so those are the 4 ways in what we call in the communications process that we have. Okay, so now moving on to the what we call the verbal communication. Okay, so as we all know that verbal communication takes place directly between the superior and the juniors in the organization, and between the farmers and what we call the extensions functionaries in the field, and is often known as a face-to-face communication. Okay, it takes the form of public addresses, what we call the verbal discussion. We have the telephonic talk, the telecommunications, and the other artificial media, such as what we call the audio-visual aids, speeches, and orders, holding the meetings and conferences like this. Okay, so we also have the lectures, the social get-togethers, training sessions, public address system, museum exhibitions, and what we call counseling. Okay, that is the verbal communication. You are going to this is a form of talking. You are in terms of face-to-face, or you are saying words, what we call that is the verbal communication. Okay, so while in the written communication is always put into the writing and generally used when the audience is at in the distance, or when the permanency as record is required, or where is preservation is essential in case it is needed as the evidence in the case of dispute. Okay, it is generally in the form of instruction or orders, rules, and regulation is either in the policies, procedures, poster, memos, reports, informations in the bulletins. Okay, that is we can use written communication. That is, you are going to write the general informations from your audiences in the distance, and then that is we can use this one in order of instruction. Okay, in orders, rules and regulations, policies, procedures, poster, reports, and what we call bulletins. Okay, another one is we have the non-verbal communication. Okay, so in the non-verbal communication, a message can be sometimes expressed without the help of words. Okay, so the non-verbal communication is the process of communicating without the use of words. Okay, you are going to, you are not using words, but it is defined as a non-word human responses like our facial expression, our gestures, and what we call the perceived characteristic of the environment. So with this one, through which the human verbal and non-verbal messages are transmitted. So non-verbal communication is also known as the silent language. It involves the use of cues, gestures, vocal characteristic, facial expression, spatial relationship between the sender and the receiver to convey a message. Okay. For example, we have the smile. Okay, you're going to smile is a way of the nonverbal communication, saying that that you are happy. And then we have the glance, we have the stare, and we have the broad convey what we call the different meanings. Okay. So moving on to the what are the components of the nonverbal communication. So one of the ways for us to become an effective using the English language is we have the nonverbal communication, or what we call the components of the nonverbal communication. So number one is we have the proxemics. Okay, so proxemics is a technical term for a personal space aspect of the body language. Okay, proxemics is the study of measurable distance between the people as they interact. Okay, so this is what we call the personal, okay, space aspect of the body language. There is a distance between the people that you are going to interact with. Okay, number 2 is we have this Oculesics naman, that is the study of the rule of the eye contact is what we call in the non-verbal communication. We use our eyes are the very significant aspect of the non-verbal signals as we send to others. Okay, so Oculesics is one of the form of the non-verbal communication which is the transmissions and the reception of the meaning between the communicators without the use of words. Okay. It can include the environment around the communicators, the physical attributes or what we call the characteristic of the communicators and the behavior of the communicators. Okay, we use what we call the Oculesics. So what we call that one is you are going to use our eyes, that is, and then we are going to, the meaning we are going to convey or transmit and reception, the meaning between the communicators without the use of the words. Okay, another one is we have this what we call this one, chronomics. We have this one is the study is the use of the time of in the non-verbal communication. So the way we are going to perceive time, the structure of our time and react to the time is a powerful communication tool. Okay, so it helps the set the stage for the communication process. Okay, that is across the cultures. We have the time perception. It plays a large role in what we call the non-verbal communication process. So the time perceptions include the punctuality. We have the willingness to wait, and the interaction and the use of the time can be affect the lifestyle or the daily agendas and the speed of the speech and the movements of how long the peoples are willing to listen. Okay, that is what we call chronomics. Okay, so that is we use our time to can affect the lifestyle. Okay, sometimes it's the daily agendas that we have, the speed of speech that we are going to convey, and the movements of how long the peoples are willing to listen. Okay, another one is we have the haptics. Okay, the haptics refers to the touching. We have the different types. We have the 6 different kinds of touch. We have this includes the positive, we have the playful, we have the control, we have the ritualistic, we have the task related, and we have the unintentional. Okay, so for example, this one we use the non-verbal communication haptics, but we are going to have this knowledge what we are going to how we are going to use this one. Okay, that is you can see that one that we can use the different kinds of touch, that is in the positive, playful, control, or what we call the ritualistic, and we have the task related and what we call the unintentional. Okay, next one is we have the paralinguistic. Okay, so what is paralinguistic all about? This is the study of the variation of pitch. We have the speed and the volume and the pauses to convey the meaning. Okay, so interestingly, when the speaker is making a presentation, it is looking for the response, he will pause. Okay, and then that is what we call the paralinguistic. Okay, so however, when is no response is desired, he will talk at faster with a minimal pauses. Okay, so for example, you have to raise questions. You will ask question. Okay, you have to say that one, and the speaker also should entertain those questions and queries. Okay, another one is we have the para language. Okay, so what is this all about in terms of in the non-verbal communication? That is in the para language refers to the non-verbal elements of communications used to modify the meaning and convey emotions. Okay, so the para language may be expressed what we call this one, consciously or unconsciously, and it includes the pitch, we have the volume, and in some cases, okay, so intonation of the speech, we have sometimes the definition is restricted in the vocally produced sound. Okay, so the use is known as what we call the paralinguistic. Okay. So now we are move on to the one of ways to become an effective using the English language is we have the communication styles. Okay, number one is communication style. We have 3. Okay, so we have the passive, we have the assertive, and we have the aggressive. So in the passive communication, this is the style in which you have to put the right of others before your own. Okay, that is minimizing your own self-worth. Okay, that is what we call passive. Okay, so in assertive communication, it also the style in which you are going to stand up for your rights while maintaining the respect for the rights of others. And lastly is we have the aggressive. So in the aggressive communication style in which you are going to stand up for your rights, but you violate the rights of others. Okay. Take that for this. We have this communication style. We have the passive. We have the assertive. We have the aggressive, and so we can use this one in terms of what we call the communication styles that we are going to use if you are going to have, and then what style that you are going to use. Okay. Next, moving on is what we call the feedback in communication. Okay. So in the feedback communication, that is what we call so in these cases we have this intention. Okay, giving feedback. Okay. So in effective feedback is directed towards our improving in the work performance and making the workers a more valuable asset. Okay. It is not the personal attack, but the feedback is directed towards what we call the aspect of the job. Okay. So what is your intention? Okay, in this using feedback. Okay, that is you are going to the directed towards the improving of the work performance. Okay, so the feedback is directed towards aspect of the job. Okay. Number one is we have this what we call the specificity. This is the specific rather than the saying things like you always or you never, or we have the criticism that causes resentment. Okay, you have to be specific with the way how you give feedback from one person to another. Okay, so we have this one. Another is in terms of the description that is effective. Okay, so in these cases, the feedback can also be characterized as descriptive rather than evaluative. Okay, it tells the receivers what he or she has done in objective terms rather than presenting the value of judgment. Okay, how you are going to use a description, you are going to have to describe, or what we call the descriptive rather than you are going to evaluate for them to become, we use this feedback as effective as well. Okay, next one is in terms of usefulness. Okay, so we have the feedback is what we call the information for the receiver can use to improve performance. Okay, if it is not something the receiver can correct, it is not worth mentioning. Okay, so you have to use feedback in terms of usefulness, that is in terms of effectiveness. Okay, next one is we have the timeliness. Okay, so one giving feedback is we have the timeliness. Okay, so we have the consideration in the timing feedback properly. Why? Because as a rule, the more immediate the feedback, the better. Okay, this is the way the receiver has a better chance to knowing the sender, or what they call is talking about, and can take a corrective action. Okay, so that is what we call timeliness. Okay, another one is we have the clarity. So if you have to give feedback, you always have this clarity aspect. Okay, so effective feedback must be clearly understood by the recipient, and a good way to checking this is to ask the recipient to restate the major point of discussion. Okay, so you have to state that one in a clear manner. Okay, another one is we have the validity is in the order for the feedback to be effective, it must be reliable and valid. So if you, before you have to give your feedback, make sure that is reliable, coming from the reliable sources, and that is valid. Okay, so that is one is validity. Okay, next one is we have this what we call a readiness. Okay, so in order for the feedback to be effective to the receivers, must be ready to receive. Okay, that is readiness. When the feedback is imposed upon the receiver, it is much less effective. Okay, so dapat we are ready for what the feedback that we are going to say from the persons to another. Okay, another one is what are the value of feedback? We have this one. So providing feedback, therefore, it needs to be constructive activity that should be helping to learn. It should be destructive and critical. It should not be destructive and critical. So if you have the value of feedback, you have to provide the feedback. You have to be constructive, and then it should not be destructive or what we call critical. Okay. So another value is we have this equally important. The recipient should not interpret or what we call this destructive and critical. To be effective, feedback needs to be skillfully given to the receiver must hear, understand, and accept the act upon. Okay, so however, accurate the feedback, if the individuals reject it, that is, you have to result with new improvement in the performance. And therefore, we always consider that the human element during feedback. Okay, so what is you're going to say, okay, that is what is feedback, okay, so that is you are going to look for intended, okay, so that is intended for what, for whom, or to somebody. Okay, so another one is we are in giving feedback, we have this one human. Okay, you have to hear, understand, motivate, you are acceptable, and that is negotiate. Okay, so you have to always remember that one in giving feedback, that we are going to hear, you are to understand, motivate, acceptable, and we have this negotiate. Okay, another one is what are the guidelines for giving feedback. For example, okay, so we have this, you have to focus the feedback on the behavior rather than on the personality. Okay, you have to focus on the behavior, not on the personality. Okay, so feedback should focus on observation rather than inferences. Okay, you have to focus on the observation, not for the inferences. Okay, you have to concentrate on change rather than for the value judgment. Okay, so the feedback is most acceptable when it's describing a specific rather than general patterns behavior. So another one is you have to focus the feedback on the value it may be have the individual. Okay, and moving on, that is you have the feedback is most acceptable when it is describing a specific rather than the general feedback or patterns of behavior. Okay, so feedback also should be well timed and the positive feedback followed by negative. Okay, take note for this. And you have to check the accuracy of the feedback. Okay, so this is the guidelines for us how we are going to give feedback for somebody or to somebody. Okay, so you have number one is you have to focus on the behavior, not for the personality. Okay, you have to focus on the observation, not for the inferences, and a lot more. Okay, another one is what are the guidelines for the receiving feedback? Okay, the way how we are going to receive feedback. Okay, number one is be positive towards the feedback's giver. Okay, so another thing is you have to listen to the feedback and then clarify and check understanding, and then you have to check the feedback with the others, and then ask for the feedback not for volunteered. Okay, and then describe how to use feedback and explore options, and you have to thank the feedback giver. Okay, so one of the guidelines for us to receive feedback is we always have the positive attitude, and then we have this, you have to clarify, you have to clarify something, and we have to check our understanding, how we are going to understand it, how we are going to receive those feedback. Okay, another thing is what are the characteristics? Okay, what we call this one, the characteristic of a feedback is we have number one is the importance of the feedback cannot be overemphasized and needs no special what we call this one elucidation. And then the feedback is the yardstick which measures the effectiveness of communication and is used for evaluation review and to amend the message in the light of response. So we have, for example, the efficient workers have the reliable feedback that they have used they succeed in their effective communication. And okay, so that's it for my presentation. Okay, so okay, so
Thank you so
once again,
much.
thank you so much for this opportunity that you have given to me.
Thank you so much, Perfecto. I think that it was a great presentation as usually. Thank you so much. But here, if you have any question, please let me know on the chat, okay? If it's possible to answer some question, Perfecto, please, because I think that they have some questions related to the topic. I think that it was a question related to, yes, that's his name. However, we need to clarify there is yes, okay? There was just in this case, my dear friend, Perfecto, there is a question related to how to provide feedback effectively. Okay, so what are the recommendations, the tips, or in this case that you give it to us, okay, to be clear or to give it in a very meaningful way, right?
Okay, so just like here, stated here, that we are going to, our feedback must focus on the behavior rather than on the personality. And always, you have our feedback always focus on the observations rather than inferences. And also we have this, we have to check the accuracy of our feedback as always. That we, for example, you are going to have the feedback to that person or for that specific topic that you have, we always check is this accurate or not for in this particular scenario, for example.
Thank you so much. It was a very clear answer. I think if you have any other question, please let me know. In this case, our friend Perfecto, okay, is here with this great presentation. I'm so sorry that at the beginning we have some technical problems. Thank you so much, Perfecto. I'm gonna mention your bio. I'm so sorry, my friend, before to give it to you the recognition. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. Okay, so Perfecto is a graduate of Bachelor Arts in English Language at Parsiagen State University, okay, in 2018. After a month of officially hired as a junior high school teacher at Mary's Villas Academy, Santa Rosa City, he taught English language and grammar lesson subject. In 2019, up to present, he's officially a faculty member of San Theodore Holy Family School Academia, okay, the Maria Elena as an English teacher. During his college life, he's an active student leader in his university. In 2018, he elected the Supreme Student Council President. Very good, my dear friend. Okay, and he received a meritorious award, both national and international awarding body. In 2017, he received an award as an ambassador for peace and Asia region and Young Learners Excellent Award from GCI Philippines. Perfecto Soltis, consistent scholar of the Provisional Scholarship Program from the province of Pangasinan in 2014 to 2018. Okay, he's also earned his certificate as Microsoft Innovative Educator and Master Trainer at Microsoft Education Center. He's also as international moderator. Yes, he's a very great speaker, as I mentioned, researcher, advocate, critic reader, research expert, and writer. Thank you so much, Perfecto. Let me give it to you, okay, in this case, the recognition. Okay, could you give it to me, the host, please, if it's possible? Okay. Yes, to give it to you, the recognition. Thank you so much for being here. I don't know. Okay, whereas I'm gonna share in this case, okay, the recognition, we have a question, my dear friend. Why do you consider that body language is a silent language? That's a question from, I think that is from Sonia from Ecuador. That's the question. Why do you consider that body language is a silent language?
Okay, so as we all know that we use or consider the body language as a silent language because we do not use words. We emphasize the meaning of the words using by our body, using our gestures, using our facial expressions, and other method in terms of the nonverbal communications.
Thank you so much. I think that the answer was very clear. Okay, Rodrigo, thank you so much to interact a lot. Okay. He's so perfecto. Yes, he mentioned that. Sonia mentioned, thank you for the answer. Yes, I think that it was a vital, okay, in this case, a topic that we need to know nowadays, specifically about the feedback, right? Nowadays, we need to know how to give a very meaningful feedback, right? So I think that is something that we need to know. So I don't know why I don't have in this case the option to share. So before to finish, let me, okay, I think that I have now. Oh my God, no, but I don't have this one. Yes, now, yes, let me give it to you, the recognition. Thank you so much, Perfecto, for being here. This is the certificate of recognition, okay, to Mr. Perfecto for imparting his meritorious and invaluable time as a speaker on the webinar series from MissClauRivera Language Center from Peru with the theme, Effective Ways in Communicating Using the English Language. September 17th, 2001. Here is the group, okay, in this case, thank you so much, Perfecto, for being with us. This is just something simple, I know, but we are really glad to have you here, okay? And something that I want to mention too, my dear friend, is thank you so much to my academic coordinator, Miss Silvia Vega. I don't know if she's here, okay, who was helping me, okay, all the time. She's always trying to collaborate to Miss Silvia Vega. Thank you so much too for being here. So, yeah, oh, yes, okay, that was a problem in that case, okay? She has some technical problems, okay? But thank you so much, Miss Silvia too. Thank you so much, my dear friend, Perfecto, for this great webinar. We really like it, okay? So let's see. Okay, let's go. Yes, I'm so sorry, Hilda. That was a problem because we have some technical problems, so we need to change the time. So don't worry because we have the record. Thank you so much, Perfecto. He gave it to me, okay, the permission to record this session. So thank you so much, Perfecto. So you could watch it again, the record. Thank you so much. Maybe you want to say something, my friend. I'm so sorry. I was talking a lot.
Okay, so once again, I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to my friend, Professor Claudia. Okay, so one of the best speakers I've met during some of the international conferences I joined. And I can say this woman is has a lot of potentials. And as an educator as well, I learned a lot from Professor Claudia in terms of her presentations during the conferences that I have been joined together with Professor Claudia. And also, I am looking forward for another session with you. And I hope that this is not the last time, but why not? We could have this for another engagement. And thank you so much, everyone, for allowing me to share my knowledge and expertise with this webinar. So thank you. And from the Philippines, we say that one, maraming salamat, mabuhay.
Thank you so much, my dear Perfecto. As you mentioned, as I remember too, we are family. So let's see. Thank you so much. We are family, my friends. So thank you so much to everyone. We have here people from the Philippines, from Ecuador, from Peru. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm sorry. I know that we have some problems because some people think that it was at 9 p.m., but we have some technical problems. Thank you so much, Perfecto, for being here. But as I mentioned, you have the opportunity to watch the record again because my dear friend gave it to me the opportunity to record the session so you could watch it again as Miss MissClauRivera. Thank you so much, my friend. It was a great presentation. Let me tell you that I am really glad, okay, as usually, and you are a great professor. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Something else that you want to mention? Okay, here we have. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rosemary, for being here. It was great. Thank you, Perfecto. Okay, so have a nice weekend. Okay, have a nice weekend here. I think that there is Saturday, right, my friend?
Yes, here in the Philippines, it's Saturday.
Yes, I'm so sorry, my friend.
That's
I'm
okay, that's okay.
Thank you so much for being here, okay? As usually, a great presentation, okay? So thank you so much. So you could go, if you don't have any question, you could go. Thank you so much, okay? Betsabe, thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, okay? We all perfecto, they mention, okay? Oh, thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Rosie, as usually. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend too, as usually. She's always with